kind of like splashed on me. Good morning and welcome to Transform Your Life in 15 Minutes. My name is McAdams. I'm an author, I'm an accounting professor, and I'm also a certified life coach. I specialize in personal and small business finance and also fitness. I help people reach their goals. And welcome to this edition of Transform Your Life. And this is where we're doing 5-minute exercises, one each for the mind, the body, and the soul. And the premise is that our body consists of 3 parts, of course, the mind, the body, and the soul. And in order to become happier and healthier and just kind of transform your life, you want to make sure that you're working on all 3 parts and not just one or just maybe 2. Okay, so in order to do that, we're just going to do little small bites, little small pieces, namely 5 minutes on each of those parts. Now, for the soul portion, I get like choking in here still. For the soul portion, we're going to be doing a 5-minute guided meditation. And for the body portion, we're going to be doing some yoga. And then for the mind portion, we're going to be reading from my book. And it's a book that I wrote 3 years ago, and it's called Your Body, The Perfect House, How to Find Your True Purpose and Live a Balanced Life. And this is a book and it's a guide that's going to help people address all the 5 areas in your lives. And I do that based upon using the house as an analogy. So you know how your house have rooms in it, or your life have areas. So in the book, the living room is indicative of your financial area. Then we have the kitchen, which is your physical area. And then we have two bathrooms, which is the left brain and the right brain. And that's indicative of your emotional. And then we have the office, which is your spirituality. And then we have 2 bedrooms. And this is your relationship with yourself and, of course, your relationship with others. Okay, so that's what we're doing. And I want to take the time to thank you. Hi, Andy. Good to see you this morning. Thanks for logging on. I want to thank you for watching this live broadcast. Thank all my live viewers, and also thank you that are watching the recording. And I'm so excited to be presenting this information. Like I said, I wrote this book 3 years ago, and it's still in the process of being published, but I'm happy to be presenting some of the information out of it for you. And I promise once I get clarity on when I can give them, like for instance, what I'm waiting on now really is the book cover. Once I have the book cover design completed, we're working on that now. Once it's finalized, then I'll be able to give you more information. But as far as publication, it won't be actually released until later on this year. Okay, but I promise you, I'll give you more information about that later on. But right now we're talking about the book. Now, in the book, we've already gone through the neighborhood. We've already gone the outside of the house, the inside of the house, and we spent a significant portion of time in the living room, which is the financial area. Well, we just started a couple of days ago in the kitchen. We're getting physical in the kitchen. And so this is one of the areas, again, this is one of my fortes. This is one of the areas that we all see that has a really, really huge problem, right? Because when you look out in society, what do you see? A lot of obese people, okay? And I want you to understand that obesity and overweight people, there's a lot that stems from it. And I talked about that yesterday, so I won't go into it again today. But again, just be a little bit more compassionate about it, because it's not necessarily anyone's fault, right? We're not blaming fault. Just have compassion, because you never know what's going on with anyone, right? And I'll give you an example. A lot of times we judge the overweight or obese people because what we're seeing on their outside is also reflective of something that's on the inside, right? Like obviously, if there's something on the if you're outside of your house like for instance, if you're driving by the house and it's abandoned, you can tell it's abandoned by looking on the outside. Like the brushes are overgrown, the house is not taken care of, it's not painted, some of the windows might be cracked. That's an abandoned house because on the outside, the physical appearance. Well, same thing can be said with our body. Like for instance, you just assume that if they're on, the outside is overweight or obese, then we assume that there's something going on the inside. Okay, which could be a logical assumption. But guess what? That's not necessarily always the case, because I always talk about using the analogy of the house again. Your outside can be immaculate and beautiful. Like you can walk by a house and like, oh my God, that's the most beautiful house I've ever seen. But then when you get on the inside, it's a total disaster area. It's like messy. There's hoarders that live there. Again, you can't make judgments, right? Well, you can, but it's not necessarily the right thing to do to make judgments. Because think about the people that we know of, namely like celebrities, that seemingly have everything going for them. They have the money, they have the fame, the fortune, all of that, right? And then all of a sudden they commit suicide. Okay. Michael Jackson, not that they commit suicide, but that's questionable. Michael Jackson, Robin Williams, just all kinds of celebrities that, that they do things destructive for themselves, because they're not happy on the inside. Okay, so don't assume that just because you see an overweight person that means there's a disaster area on the outside, and also don't assume because you see a well put together person that they're happy on the inside as well. You just never know what's going on with people. We're all humans, and that's why I kind of want to convey throughout this whole, this whole dialogue. But specifically today, we're going to be talking about sugar because we're in the kitchen. So we're going to be talking about what is sugar. We're going to be talking about like the daily intake recommendations. We're going to be talking about the quote unquote good sugar. And then we're going to also end with some sugar facts. Because as you know, yesterday, one of the things that I recommend is in order to help your health, one thing that you want to do is decrease the amount of sugar that you take. So we're going to address those areas. And before we do that, let me try to get the real drink of water that I was trying to do before the broadcast came, but the countdown came really quickly. So I kind of like splashed it all over myself. Give me a second. Okay, now that was the real drink of water. All right, so let's get started. So what is sugar? Basically, sugar is just a simple carbohydrate, right? And it comes in many forms, but there's really three main types of sugar. We have the sucrose, we have the lactose, and then we have the fructose. The sucrose is commonly known as the table sugar that you're aware of. The lactose is usually the one found in milk, and the fructose is what's found in the fruits. Okay, now we do need sugar. Our cells need sugar to survive, right? Because of the energy. But it's when you consume too much sugar is when it's going to have those adverse effects on your health. And we can name those, right? Of course, you're going to have your dental problems, with cavities. You're going to have obesity. And then you're going to also have, type 2 diabetes. Those are like the main ones. Heart disease, it goes on and on. But it's from the consuming too much sugar. So we want to make sure that we don't consume too much. So, we want to, like, for instance, we get the sugar from eating the foods and, of course, drinking the drinks. And I'll talk a little later about, making sure, like, particularly those drinks, those soft drinks, those sodas, those fruit drinks that we love to consume, they have a high amount of sugar in it. But mainly, let's talk about, before we do that, let's talk about what is the daily recommendation. So the American Heart Foundation, they recommend that women consume no more than 100 calories from added sugars, and for men is 150. And then also that no more than 5% of your total daily intake comes from added sugars. Well, what does that mean? That means 6 teaspoons or 25 grams of sugar per day. That's the maximum. And that's based upon a 2-calorie diet recommendation, right? Remember I talked about that yesterday. Okay, so based upon a 2-calorie diet recommendation. But guess what? The average American consumes 19.5 teaspoons. That's 82 grams of sugar a day. That is huge. Now you can imagine and you can understand why Americans are out of shape, overweight, and obese. We're consuming way too much sugar. If the daily recommendation is 6 teaspoons, but on average we're consuming 19.5, that's a problem. Okay. Matter of fact, this is a problem I would say worse than cocaine. I can say that because I think it really is, because at least cocaine we know that's like that's an illegal drug that the government, bans. Now people still do it, but at least it's banned. Sugar is legal, yet look at the problems that it's causing in our society. So in my opinion, we should be regulating the amount of sugar that's being put into these foods because it's being added. Notice what I'm saying. I'm saying added sugar. Okay, so that's being added to this food by the manufacturers. All right, now when it comes to the sugars, remember I talked about there's such thing as a good sugar, and that's normally known known as the fructose. Now with the fructose, keep in mind that too much of anything is a bad thing, right? So a lot of times people say, okay, well there's the good sugar and there's the bad sugar, so I'm going to eat all the fruit I can eat, or all the fruit that I want because that contains the good sugar. And what makes it known as the good sugar is because it's naturally found in. In other words, when you grow the fruit, you don't add sugar to it. It naturally accumulates the sugar, right? Whereas the other foods I just talked about, they're adding it and do it throughout the process. Okay, so that's why it's considered the good fruit or the good sugar, is because it's natural. But too much of anything is a bad thing. So even with the fructose, they recommend that you have a maximum of 50 grams. Now, when it comes to fruit, now this is not necessarily a broadcast about the different types of fruit because there's tons of fruits out there, right? So you need to make sure that you look at the list of fruits and then see how much grams of fructose that they contain, because I'll just let you know, fruits such as, like, let's say lemon and lime, which basically have like little to no type of fructose in there, those you can eat those, pretty much sparingly. But then there's other fruits that contain a little bit more higher fructose in it, such as watermelon, pineapple, grapefruits, plantains, cherries, mangoes, so those have a higher concentrate of fructose in it. And remember, the maximum is 50 grams per day. So just on a daily, like an average, maybe 3 to 4 pieces of fruit is going to be good for you. All right, now when it comes to the sugar, now diabetics can also consume sugar as well, because remember, we need that energy for our cells. But for diabetics, the recommendation is, on the average, obviously contact your doctor, right? But on the average, it's half, okay? So it's half of what people that don't have diabetes have. Now, also with sugar, there's different types. Remember, I talk about different forms and different types. Now, brown sugar has molasses in it, so it has a slightly more nutritional content in it, but not much, okay? But if you do have to have sugar, recommendation is the brown sugar versus the white sugar. All right, and then we're going to talk about the sugar facts. Give me a second here. Now, the facts about the sugar is this. It can cause major cravings. Remember, I talked about cocaine, and we all know that cocaine is addictive. Well, guess what? Sugar is addictive as well. The sugar basically affects the brain in much the same way as cocaine does. It highlights those areas in your brain and makes you want more and more and more, which is why sugar is addictive. That's why it's so hard for you. Like, let's say that you're drinking coffee, right? Particularly if you're adding sugar to your coffee, and then all of a sudden you get the shakes when you don't have your coffees because you need that sugar, right? That's the same thing with cocaine, right? And it's the same thing. I'm just saying. Now, also too, we want to make sure that, sodas have a very high content of sugar, anywhere from 8 to 16 teaspoons of sugar in 1 can of soda. So for those of you that like your soda, understand that you're putting a lot of extra added sugars into your body. And I can gauge the wager that when they talk about that the average American consumes 19.5 grams of sugar per day, a majority of those are coming from liquid sugar. So in other words, those sodas and those energy drinks and the fruit drinks, okay? So we talked about eating fruit, which has fructose, but guess what? Those fruit juices that you love, those are not natural juices. And you want to make sure you read these labels. They will tell you 10% is coming from the fruit. The 90% is the added stuff in there, right? And even the ones that have a high percentage, let's say is 100% juice, there's going to be added sugars in there, right? So if you want to consume less, then make sure you're eating the real fruit, and also make sure that you're reading the labels. And guess what? Another fact is that the sugar is hiding in plain sight. Did you know that over 74% of all those packages, like for instance, we talked about the grocery store, right? 74% of packages foods contains added sugar. 74%. That's why yesterday when I talked about when you're going in the grocery store, you want to make sure that you shop on the outside of the perimeter of the grocery store, because what's on the inside is not going to be healthy. The healthy stuff is not located inside. 74% of those packages contain added sugars, okay? And then the last fact I'm talking about is there are at least 61 different names for sugar. So in other words, how manufacturers get away with the sugar, because remember, there's regulations. The FDA regulates that the manufacturers have to disclose what is known or what is in the food, right? So they put it on the label, but they put it in names that you don't even recognize, can't even pronounce, let alone understand what they are. And majority of them is sugar. 61 names, 61 different names, 61. And who's going to memorize all 61 names of sugar, right? And we all know, hopefully you do know, like when you're reading the food labels, the ingredients that are listed first contain the highest percentages. So if it actually says, like some manufacturers are like, they're bold, they don't care. They're like sugar, like number one, sugar, the number one ingredient, sugar. And they're telling you that the majority of the content is comprised of sugar. And then some of the other ones, and not only that, they'll put the sugar and they'll put some other stuff, and they'll list one of those 61 different names. And that means there's more and more sugar that's added in it. And right? When we think about in terms of food, the cereals, the pastas and the breads, like for instance, that's one of the things that you only realize when I talk about this hiding in plain sight. we know that if you get a candy bar, right, it's going to have sugar in it. We know that a lot of the cereals have sugar. But what about the bread and the pasta sauces, like things you don't even think about? You know, the ketchup, you know, the high fructose corn syrup. That's like one of the number one names that you want to look out for and avoid, is that high fructose corn syrup. And they're adding it to just about every single thing. Like the syrups, obviously it's going to be in syrup, right? But it's also in the ketchups. So again, it's that added sugar that you want to stay away from. All right, so that's enough for today. Again, there's so much, like this could be like a whole lecture. I didn't mention I was a accounting professor, right? There could be a whole lecture on sugar, but I just want to give you a little synopsis, or just a little taste of what you're doing to your body when you're doing those added sugars. So just be cognizant of what you're putting in your mouth. And on a general rule, and I know you're going to hate that I say this, but on a general rule, if it tastes good, it's probably not. Sorry, if it tastes good, it's probably not good for you. Like seriously. Now, obviously, to me, vegetables taste great, but I'm not talking about me. I'm saying for generally, if you're putting something in your mouth, make sure that you're aware of the effect it's going to have on your body. And before I do close out, I do want to mention that what I'm talking about in this kitchen, and generally speaking, overall, remember, the number one person that can dictate what you do for your body is you, okay? And what works for your body is you. And again, that requires you to make sure that you know your body. You may say, well, Pia, you keep saying that, but how do you do it? I've actually been showing you how to do it. Remember I talked about the 3 different parts, the mind, the body, and the soul? Well, the mind and the soul is the internal. How do you know your body? How do you get to know your body? You go internal, you go quiet, you go inside. I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I do another live broadcast occasionally. It's like 2 to 3 times a week, depending on the guest. And it's called Empowering Women Series. Well, yesterday I had a guest on. Her name was Jessica Talby. And the title of the broadcast was called Brave in Fitness. And we talked about self-esteem, body image, and also body size positive. And Jessica basically talked about her journey in the fitness industry, being a not the ideal size person. In other words, she's generally considered not necessarily overweight, but not skinny. In other words, she's curvy. She's real curvy. So she talked about that. And one of the things that she mentioned was she was able to go inside, and this was something that she happened upon. Like, she didn't plan this. It just happened because of the way the circumstances were in her journey, such as, like, for instance, she's a master trainer. So when she would go to the hotel room at the end of like filming, she was doing the video. At the end of filming, she was in the hotel room, and she didn't have any friends, or there was nobody, there was no roommate, so she was just by herself, and so it gave her time to reflect. Okay, so it's that time how you figure out who you are and what's going to work for you. Is that reflection, but it requires going internal and being alone. And for a lot of us, we don't love ourselves, and so it manifests in ways such as we always have to surround yourself around people or things or objects, and you just can't be alone. For instance, if you find that when you come home, first thing you do is you turn on the TV, or always you're on the phone, you're doing different things, possibly it could be that you're trying to avoid being alone. Well, guess what? In order to know who you are, you have to spend that time alone. You have to have some quiet time where you're just thinking about who you are, going internal, closing your eyes, and just really feeling what's going on inside of you, which is why I do the yoga, and also why I do the meditation. Because remember, the yoga is not stretching. The yoga is the mind-body connection. And I want you to understand that they have done research now that there's not just 2 parts. It's not the mind and the body. They now call it the mind-body, because your body has a mind, okay? It's the same mind that we consider the mind. It is one connection. So when we're going through the yoga, which is what we're about to do right now, I want you to understand that this particular practice is an exercise with the mind-body connection. So that's why you keep having me, or you hear me focus on the breathing. I keep mentioning the Ujjayi breaths. Okay, so Ujjayi breathing, I'll go ahead and talk about it because you're about to go into yoga. Ujjayi breath is known as the full diaphragmatic breathing. So a lot of times when we're breathing normally, we're just doing the chestal breathing, like a nasal breathing, which is why our voice sounds nasally, right? Because we're only breathing from our chest. But I want you to learn to breathe deep from your diaphragm, okay? And that's in your abdominal. So when you inhale, your belly actually rises out, okay? Like it goes out, it expands. And then as the diaphragm moves its way up towards the chest cavity, your chest also rises. That's on the inhalation, okay? It's a nice, deep, slow breath. And you're doing this in through your nose. By the way, you want to inhale through your nose because if you notice, your nose has those little hairs in it. Those little hairs prevent the different, dust particles and everything from going into your body. That's why you want to breathe in through your nose because it has that filter. Those hairs are little filters. Your body is a great machine. All right. So as you inhale, that happens. And as you exhale, you want to dispel it from your mouth. And the reverse happens, right? Your chest is going to fall as the diaphragm goes back down. And then your ab is going to go in. That's diaphragmatic breathing. You're inhaling through your nose and exhaling through your mouth. Now, when you're exhaling through your mouth, as you start to practice yoga more and more, it's not necessarily an open mouth. Your mouth, your lips are just barely touching, but the breath is still coming out of your mouth. And there's different types of breathing that they practice in yoga, but the main one, just right now, if you're beginning practicing yoga, just practice on inhaling through your nose, exhaling through the mouth, and don't worry about if your mouth is open or closed, unless obviously you're outside. You want to make sure no flies go in or bugs or anything like that. You just kind of want to keep your mouth a little closed, but you're still breathing out of your mouth, okay? But it's that mind-body connection, and so when we're getting to these different poses, I want you to go internal and think, how do you feel inside? Like, are there tight areas in your body? Are your joints feeling tight? Is there tension in your body? And then as you locate those, don't judge them, just locate where they are, and then use your breath to calm it, okay? So in other words, that's why I say when you inhale, you just kind of hold your position. So on the inhale, you're reflecting. You're thinking about where it is in my body that I'm feeling the tightness, okay, the negative tension, the negative energy in my body, okay, as you inhale. And then as you exhale, you dispel it out, and then you're also releasing and relaxing that tension. You're expelling the negative energy, you're expelling the tension, and you're relaxing your body. And while you're doing that, you're mentally thinking about the tight area, okay? So again, the yoga is a mind-body connection. And then we always end with the meditation. And this is the one that's, I know, the hardest, generally speaking, the hardest for most people, is because, again, we don't want to be left with our mind. I mentioned one time that on an average, there's like 70,000 thoughts that goes through our mind on a daily basis. And so when you try to meditate initially, you're like, I can't do it. All these thoughts come into my mind. I want you to know that that is normal, that is natural, that is a sign of a healthy brain. That is okay. Just be patient with yourself. In a 5-minute meditation, if you're starting, if you get 10 to 15 seconds of quiet time, you're doing great. Okay, you're doing great. So I don't want you to think as we're meditating, it's just going to be 5 minutes. Like, even for me, it's not 5 minutes of total darkness, particularly because I'm doing this live broadcast, right? But if I'm meditating on my own, like for instance, I'm right now doing a guided meditation, so I'm guiding you. But when I'm doing my meditation, I've been meditating for a while. I have some good meditation practices and some that are not so good. Sometimes my mind is just going and on. Now, over time, I've learned to calm that down. And how I'm teaching you is to have a focus. And that focus is on your breath. So when we're doing the meditation, if you hear those thoughts that just coming into your mind, just gently push aside of it. Because if you concentrate on those thoughts, now you're involved into those thoughts. So just gently, just let them come and just continue to keep your focus on your breath. Inhaling deeply, like just think of your inhaling positive energy, exhaling negative energy and tension. If you just continue focusing on that, over time, those thoughts will say, okay, they're going to be really, really active here. And over time, they're going to be like, okay, I know they'll go, I'm going to go. And then they'll quiet their way and dispel, okay? But it is a practice. Yoga is a practice and meditation is a practice. So you want to make sure that you're patient with it. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to those practices. All right, let's grab another water. I think this is probably the most I've ever drank water in the broadcast. And it was because I did have actually yesterday, I did a really great, speaking of meditation, I had a really great meditation practice yesterday. I had some time. So I was actually able to meditate for an hour. And that's not necessarily the longest I've practiced or meditated. I didn't tell you guys, but back in December, I kind of had a spiritual journey where I went somewhere. Basically, I went home to my mom, and she lives in the country, and there was like no distraction. And I spent a lot of time out, not necessarily outside because it was cold. It wasn't December. But I spent a lot of time inside, meaning inside of me, and meditating. And there were times throughout that time in December, because it was a spiritual journey, so I was able to be, alone. There were times where I was meditating up to like 6 hours a day, like seriously just meditating. So again, it really, really helps. So when I said I spent an hour yesterday, now that I'm back in my normal environment, I usually spend I usually meditate twice a day, and it's usually 30 minutes, but they're usually broken up. Well, yesterday I was able to actually meditate for the full hour, and so that's why, I did it just before. It was at night that I did it, and then I went to bed. So that's probably why I'm a little thirsty, because I didn't get enough water. And speaking of which, I didn't give you a little assignment, because I usually do that. The first assignment was for you to reduce your processed foods. Now you see the real importance of it, right? Processed food is not good for you because it has a lot of added sugar. Yesterday, I recommend that you reduce the amount of sugar, so they go hand in hand. Today, I want you to increase your water intake. All right, so tomorrow, the mind portion will be talking about the importance of drinking water and all that involves into that. All right, so for the yoga, again, this is a practice. It's not going to really do you much if you're just watching me, so I want you to practice with me. And we're going to start off in child's pose. Now, with child's pose, your feet are going to be together, and your knees, I use a mat, so your knees are going to be out toward the edges of the mat. Now you're going to see me kind of pause before I get into child's pose, and this is me getting into my mind-body connection. So as I inhale, I'm just kind of closing my eyes, and I'm thinking internally what's going on. And then as I exhale, you're going to see me slowly walk my hands out, because we're going to do a child's pose with extended arms. So that means your arms are going to be overhead. Your crown of your head is going to be facing forward, which means your forehead is facing down on the mat. If this is your first time with yoga, don't worry, I'm going to show you what child's pose is. But I wanted to describe it to you because when I'm doing it, I'm not going to be talking. I'm going to be doing some deep breathing. So we're going to hold child's pose for 3 deep breaths. Okay? So go ahead and assume the position if you know what it is. If not, just kind of wait for me to play the music, and then I'll get into my child's pose. All right, so let's go ahead and get to our practice of yoga. And then immediately we go right into the meditation. So come into child's pose, and we're going to hold 3 deep breaths. On the next inhale, I want you to come up onto your fingertips. I want you to feel the elongation in your arms from the fingertips all the way through the upper part of your back, all the way down to the tailbone. Pressing your armpits down toward the mat, just take, again, nice deep ujjayi breaths. Remember, if you feel any tight areas in your body, I want you to direct your breath on the exhale toward those areas. Now slowly release your palms down, and then bring your palms back so that they're directly underneath your shoulders. And you're going to bring your knees in so they're directly underneath your hips. And this is your tabletop position. Hands are spread out nice and wide. I want you to draw your breath in, taking a nice deep ujjayi breath. And as you exhale, I want you to drop your chin down toward your chest, round through the spine, and tuck the pelvic under. And this is a cat position. We're doing a cat-cow. Using the breaths, massaging the spine. As you inhale, your head and chest comes forward. You arch your back, your tailbone sticks up toward the back of the room. Press those shoulder blades down. As you exhale, drop your chin down toward your chest, round to the spine. Now again, take your time to get into these poses, these postures, and use your breath. Again, as you inhale, head and chest comes forward. Tailbone sticks out. Arch your back. And as you exhale, round through the spine, tuck the tailbone under, chin goes down toward the chest. Let's do that again. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale again. And then this time as you exhale, you'll return back to tabletop, which is a neutral spine. Crown of the head comes forward. Now, take a nice deep breath here. This time as you exhale, I want you to curl your toes under, and I want you to take it to downward facing dog. Now in this position, Your palms are directly beneath your shoulders. Again, your feet are directly beneath your hips. If this is too challenging for you, feel free to walk your feet out toward the edges of your mat and come into a wide stance downward facing dog. Now you want to start pedaling your legs. This is the first time getting to downward facing dog this morning. So you want to feel the lifting throughout the lower portion of your body from your heels all the way to the tailbone. Again, your fingers and your toes are spread out nice and wide. You want to keep your head in alignment with your bicep, and you're pressing your chest toward your thighs and your knees. Trying to get those heels down toward the mat. Now on your next inhalation, I want you to bring that left foot forward toward the fingertips. And I want you to place that right knee down, uncurl the toe, and I want you to lift your chest as you greet the palms together overhead, interlacing your fingers with your index fingers pointing straight up. Keep your head in alignment with your bicep. We're into a low lunge. I want you to concentrate on pressing your hips forward and down toward the mat. You're getting a nice dental stretch on the hip flexor on this right side. Nice deep ujjayi breaths. Relax those shoulders. All right, go ahead and release your hands. Palms to go back down toward the mat. Curl the toes under on that right foot. Take the left foot back to downward facing dog and continue to pedal. Again, this downward facing dog, this is a resting position, so do what feels comfortable to you. I like to come up on the top of my toes and roll down through the balls of my feet all the way down to the heels. Make sure you're breathing, using your breath. You also can sway your body side to side. Just feel the gentle stretch. Now, on the next inhalation, I want you to bring your right foot toward the fingertips. Place that left knee down, uncurl the toe, lift up your chest. Again, greet the palms together as you interlace your fingers, extending the index fingers all the way up toward the sky. Keep your head in line with your bicep and give me nice deep ujjayi breaths. Remember, these breaths are your time to go inward, to feel where it feels tight in your body. Direct your breath to those tight areas and relax and lengthen. All right, go ahead and release the palms down toward the mat. Curl your toes under. Take that right foot back to downward facing dog. Now this time, I want you to keep your palms flat on the mat. I want you to walk your feet in toward your palms. You may need to bend your knees to make sure that your palms stay flat on the mat. And I want you to slowly round up. Take it one vertebra at a time. Exhale back. All right, take a nice deep breath, inhaling. As you exhale, I want you to dive your body forward. I want you to inchworm your way to the plank. I want you to release your hips down toward the mat, uncurl your toes, draw your shoulders down and back to upward facing dog. Curl the toes under, walk your fingertips back toward your toes. Inhale, take it all the way up. Exhale, dive the body forward to forward fold. Walk the fingertips out toward, inchworm out toward the plank. Release your hips, relax your shoulders, open up your chest up toward the sky. Curl those toes under. Walk the fingertips back toward the toes. Inhale, take it all the way up. Exhale, dive the body forward. Inchworm to the plank. Release your hips. Uncurl your toes. Relax the shoulders. Forehead goes up toward the sky. Curl the toes under. Walk it back. Again, deep breath. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Now curl the toes under as you exhale, and let's take it to downward facing dog. As you inhale, bring it forward toward the plank. As you exhale, take it to downward facing dog. As you inhale, take it to plank. As you exhale, downward facing dog. As you inhale, take it to plank. Crown of the head is face forward, and exhale. Inhale, and this time we're going to hold plank. All right, so now on the inhalation, I want you to then take the right foot or left foot toward left foot toward the left pinky, and then switch. Now in these spider lunges here, if you want your heart rate to get up, particularly as in the morning, you want to get the blood flowing, feel free to jump through these lunges. Now I tried that a couple days ago with these yoga socks on, and I wasn't successful. My socks kept coming off. So I'm just going to go ahead and walk it, but you can actually jump lunge, and that will get your heart rate up just a little higher. Just doing these is actually taxing your heart rate or getting it up as it is now. But if you want more cardio, feel free to jump lunge. All right, so return back to the plank. Go back to downward facing dog. And again, walk your feet in. Keep your palms flat. Kind of hold. Try to straighten those legs if you can. If not, it's okay. And then slowly take it up, one vertebrae at a time. Make sure your head is last to rise. Rotate your shoulders down and back. We're going to take a nice deep breath, inhaling. And as you exhale, dive the body forward. Place your palms flat on the mat. You're going to walk your feet out toward the edge of the mat, and they're at an angle. You're going to drop your tailbone down towards the mat. You're going to grip your palms together and use the outer part of your elbows to push out on the inner part of those thighs. And as you exhale, bow your head down. Now this is a great position here to open up the hip flexors, open up those hip joints. We spend a good majority of our day in a seated position, which shortens out those hip flexors. So this is a good stretch right here. And you may feel tight areas so that you're not all the way up. You may be like this. Again, as you inhale, just kind of hold, and as you exhale, just kind of relax and release all the tension in those joints. And over time, they will become loosened. Now go ahead and release the palms down to the mat. Place them behind you and gently transition your weight so that you're in a seated position, cross-legged, facing forward. Your fingertips are down by your side. We're going to take a nice deep breath, inhaling, and then exhaling. Again, deep breath, inhaling, and exhaling. One more time, nice deep breath, inhaling. This time we're going to greet the palms together at the very top. Draw your shoulders down and back. Exhale down through the center. And your bow. Namaste. All right. Still in this comfortable seated position, let's make our way to our yoga. Take a nice deep ujjayi breath. Inhale through your nose. And exhale through your mouth. Take a nice deep breath. Inhale through your nose. This time as you exhale, I want you to close your eyes as you drop your chin down toward your chest. As you inhale, your head lifts up, Forehead goes up toward the sky. Eyes are still closed. Press those shoulder blades down. And as you exhale, just release your chin down toward your chest. Again, as you inhale, your head and your chest goes up. Forehead goes up toward the sky. And as you exhale, just drop your chin down toward your chest. One more time, nice deep breath. Inhaling, forehead goes up toward the sky. And then this time as you exhale, just bring your chin forward. Keep your eyes closed. Now as you continue breathing your nice deep ujjayi breaths, just allow the breath to bring you to this present moment with the here and the now. Again, as you're inhaling, bring in the positive energy. And as you exhale, you're expelling the negative energy and the tension that's located in your body. Nice deep breath, inhaling. And exhaling. Now I want you to wiggle your toes. Now I want you to pretend that your feet are planted toward the ground. You don't have to be flat, but just pretend that they're grounded. So it's roots extending from the bottom of your feet all the way down to the earth. Go ahead and spread your toes out nice and wide. Feel the tension in the toes. And as you exhale, just kind of release the tension. And just wiggle the toes. Take a nice deep breath, inhaling through your nose. And exhaling through your mouth. As you inhale, I want you to notice the inside of your legs. So I want you to notice your thighs. What does it feel like? Is there any tightness in those muscles? And as you exhale, just direct the breath toward those areas in your legs. Releasing, relaxing any tension that you may have. Now making our way up to the gluteals. I want you to squeeze your butt cheeks really, really tight. Just squeeze them in together. Bring those sits bones in. And as you exhale, just release and relax. Again, directing the breath all the way from the gluteals all the way out toward the bottom of your feet. All the tension, all the stress. Nice deep breath. And exhale. If there's any thoughts that come into your mind, again, just gently push them aside like clouds in the sky. And just focus on your breath as you deeply inhale and exhale. Now your next inhalation, let you bring those shoulders all the way up toward the ears, putting out the tension and stress into those shoulders. And as you exhale, just release, relax. Let all the stress just melt away from your shoulders. This elongates your neck, increasing the energy into your body. Again, inhaling deeply through your nose. And exhaling through your mouth. Now I want you to relax your forehead. Relax your eyes. Relax your cheeks. And relax your jaws. Remember, your breath is going to bring you to the here and now. It doesn't matter about the past. We're not going to be worried about the future. It's about the here and the now. Taking a nice deep breath. And exhale into your mouth. I want you to smile to yourself and notice how that just brings nice energy, positive energy within you. Just hold that smile and sit with it for a moment. Again, taking nice deep breaths. You feel safe in this present moment. Your heart is filled with love, and your body is filled with positive energy. Take a nice deep breath, inhale through your nose, and exhale into your mouth. Again, a nice deep breath, inhaling through your nose and exhaling through your mouth. One more time, nice deep breath, inhaling through your nose and exhaling through your mouth. Now go ahead and open up your eyes as you release, relax, return, refreshed, and calm. You've done something good for yourself today. Thank you for joining me during this meditation, and also thank you for joining me for this live broadcast and Transform Your Life in 15 minutes. Today's word is creative. I want you to not only have a creative day, but I want you to create the day that you want to have. I will see you again tomorrow at the same time. Have a great day.